welcome to this very important session. My dear friends, we all know that our industry has gone through a lot. Things have come to a standstill. The mice industry is suffering. Well, people, the last 6 months have been terrible, but there have been, of course, a lot of learnings. A lot of lessons have been learned. With this, I'd like to welcome all our distinguished speakers who have come here to spare their words of wisdom on this very important topic. What have been the lessons that we have learned from this pandemic? I'd like to welcome Mr. Bhupender Singh, CEO of M.I.C.E India, Ms. Seema Srivastava, Executive Director, India ITME Society, Mr. Naji Al-Haddad, Regional Manager, Middle East, UFI, Mr. Bejan Dinshaw, Country Manager, Department of Culture and Tourism, Abu Dhabi, Mr. Ranjan Lahiri, Assistant DG Retired, Assistant Director General Retired, Ministry of Tourism, Government of India. I'd like to open up the session and invite Mr. Bhupender Singh to give his opening remarks as to, the industry has suffered a lot, but what are his comments on what has been his mindset towards this situation?
Thanks, Raghav, for this wonderful opportunity, and it's an honor to be part of this initiative, this seminar, this webinar. I've always said that we as an industry, like any other fast evolving industry, has been extremely successful and extremely busy. So busy that the topics such as disruption and innovation would always wait for the future, right? We talked about it, and while we talked about it, we all believed that it's not going to happen anytime soon. Now, you see, success is always a lousy teacher, and now we are all of a sudden in the middle of this crisis that has put everything to standstill. And the past 5 or 6 months made us reevaluate our relationship with uncertainty. You see, as exhibition organizers, we like everything to be certain, fixed, 12 to 18 months of preparation cycle, and being a German messe, sometimes even more. Whereas now we are facing a situation that if the government announces Unlock 5 tomorrow, you may see exhibition in next 6 months. Right? So most businesses know how to handle the normal. It's time like these that make the assumptions of any business clear to you. And some of our basic assumptions are getting challenged now. So clearly, I think some big learnings for us is, firstly, we need to reevaluate our relationship with uncertainty. We are clearly living in a VUCA world, whether we like it or not. It's no more a big management jargon, save for future. It is manifested right now. We are in the middle of it. Some interesting observations for us, Raghav, is that what we realized in past 5 months is that your employees are your biggest support in times of such uncertainty. What we realize is that in crises like this, it can bring the best out of people. And we are amazed by the kind of initiatives, ideations, new ideas which the team have come up with as we work on them now. And also one thing becomes very clear that we can no longer play the game the old way, with fixed relation with certainty. We need to be more agile. We need to be more flexible as a company, and I can say as an industry too. So that's my take on how I see the current situation. And if you have any questions, we can go into it.
Sure. Thank you for your valuable comments, Mr. Singh. And I'd like to move to Ms. Seema Srivastava. I would like to ask you, how have you utilized this period to kind of motivate your team to also stay on track?
Thank you, Raghav. Greetings to all the panelists and all the industry members who are tuned in into this session. I would like to share a quote. Difficult road often leads to beautiful destinations. And India today, last 5 months, all the industry sectors have gone through tough times. And I have certain observations on the journey, which we ourselves as the Textile Machinery Exhibition Society and an industry association um, took the path we took, the lessons we learned. One of the things which I felt that the mice industry would emerge much stronger from this challenge. Because as Mr. Bhupinder said, that success is a lousy teacher. And the difficulties and the challenges are what would teach us how to grow further and how to be successful in all adversities. Few of the things which I observed for our country is that the usage of technology by everyone, including the common man, which is a good thing for mice industry, because now we are able to connect with our customers, our clients, our associates through technology. The Skype, other meetings, WhatsApp, everything was there. But now the utilization of Zoom meetings, the virtual events, and all these things have exponentially increased, which is good for our country. I also feel that there has been a tremendous product adaptation by every organizer, either utilizing the platform or adapting their products to suit the current requirement during the challenging time, and also adapting the strategies and the product branding for the time when the post lockdown. All the industry associations and organizers have worked on this. The other positive thing which I would like to see is that there is more focus on the domestic markets and the customers. Every MICE or exhibition organizer is observing the industry trends closely so that they can accommodate these changes when they open up, down the line 3 months or so. So market mix also is an important thing which is coming up. The product mix also is a new trend which the exhibition organizers and the associations have taken up. I would also like to observe one very interesting development for our country, India as such, is the social development through the promotion of hygiene practices, is taken a focus. So even when we organize exhibitions now or mass things, I think that was one of the things where our country needed to improve when we compared ourselves to European standards when it comes to, the exhibition, the cleanliness and hygiene. But with this now, I think we would improve a lot and on faster pace. And this also, being such a populated country, developing nation, we would probably be able to prevent a lot more other diseases which we used to have during monsoon and things like that would improve. So I feel and the capacity of the public health services having increased tremendously through the government efforts. So I feel that these are the positive things, like the adaptation to the technology faster and wider, even to the second tier and rural areas. These are positive trends which have come out, and probably when we open up, we will open up stronger and much more better equipped, to meet and come nearer to the global standard. So I would say that we didn't lose 5 months in these particular points, we gained. That's my thought on this.
This I'd like to go to Mr. Ranjan Lahiri. I would like to understand from you what good things our industry can pick up, the MICE industry can pick up for the future.
I'm actually endorsing what Mr. Bhupinder Singh said and Mrs. Seema Srivastav said. What we need to do is to be very careful. I'm not just talking about the MICE industry, I'm talking about the entire industry per se. We should see that our the business that we have, we should see to it that it remains with the highest level of conduct, and to avoid doing business with those firms which have, encouraged business malfeasance. That's one point. Number two, a lot of workforce were retrenched. I think in the future, when such crises do come, uh, organizations should take care that their workforce are not, left in such a manner that the input is that we should talk about insurance policies in such a way that the firms can, and during the hard times, can actually, talk to these insurance companies and see to it that there is an unemployment insurance for the workforce, some insurance for the firm, so that the firm continues to be operational during the any pandemic or any such crisis that can come in. So there is some sort of industrial policy that has been developed for the state government. So I've tried to reiterate something that I would like to, I have made my own observations on that. And there is something that I want all of you to think about. There are a lot of associations which are, within the travel industry, in the hotel industry. So I think all of you can form a consortium and speak in one voice, so that we can urge the government to formulate soft and long-term interest loans which can be repaid between 5 to 7 years. Then the consortium would make a determined bid to urge the government to create a harmonized master list of tourism industry subsectors, which would pave the way for fiscal benefits to the micro, small, and medium-sized tourism industry enterprises from the banking sector, which I have formulated them in a say that I've given only the headings. The number one is Central's Interest Subsidy Scheme, where the government will subsidize your payment of interest to any debt that you have been incurring from taking a loan from a bank. Then a central comprehensive insurance scheme for not only the firm, but also for the employees. And the third thing that I would like to add is for the temporary measure, 100% income tax exemption on revenue earnings till December 2020. I think I made a very small suggestions. I'm quite sure that all of you, with your tremendous depth of knowledge of these matters, can come in with much better initiative and much better insight into this. As a person who has worked in the planning and all that, I felt that these were issues that should be taken up much more, so that the firms, especially the tourism industry, which is facing such a massive problem, it is absolutely devastated. I mean, the M.I.C.E is also there. So I would say that these are the measures that we can do. These are the lessons that we can learn from COVID-19 and use this adversity to our advantage to make it better, make it a better future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Larry. And I'd like to go to Mr. Bijan Dinshaw. Abu Dhabi has also been very steadfast in terms of its M.I.C.E infrastructure, and it has also been very solid in its fight against the COVID. Can you give us some of the main things, main issues which you have been tackling, and how you are getting ready to unlock, and how you are getting ready to welcome M.I.C.E industry in the future?
Well, we already have a very well laid out M.I.C.E infrastructure. We have ADNEC and other facilities which host. In fact, we are hopeful that IDEX, which is the annual defense exhibition, which happens once every 2 years, will be hosted in February. But again, it depends on what the world COVID situation is. Meanwhile, I'd like to stress on what all we have been in process of doing. We have been very concerned, and we have initiated a lot of health protocols in place. In fact, just to give you an example, Abu Dhabi Airport is now virtually contact free from check-in right through to boarding of the aircraft. So there are things like this we have done. We have put a lot of infrastructure in place where, health and safety standards go. So this is part of what our planning for the future is. We are hopeful things should start soon, but at the same time, we are doing limited openings of our facilities right now. I think it's been a very good learning process as to, what things should be in the future.
Absolutely. And with this, I'd like to go to Mr. Naji, and like to understand his take on the situation and how good have been the developments in this Asian region, and what can be the learnings going forward.
Thank you, Raghav, and again, good morning and greetings from UFI and from the UAE to all the esteemed speakers and to all the audience attending this session. So basically, for me, I think there were like many lessons learned from this crisis. Really, it was one of the biggest learning, courses for me, if I may say, because, during the pandemic, for example, on a personal level, I was able to conclude and submit my thesis for the MBA in international business that I was postponing for a good year. So on a personal level, I want to, move from this point to say that upskilling is very important. Upskilling is extremely important. And going back to Bhupinder's point, about the importance of employees in going through this crisis. It's very important to upskill our talents, to upskill especially the younger generation, the mid-senior level employees, and equip them, with whatever is necessary to go through the second phase. I have to say that the technology was always there. Yeah, we always had Skype video conferencing with family. We haven't thought of it really in depth for the business industry or for businesses in general, and the exhibition industry in specific. So I have seen one thing that is extremely important, and again, Mr. Ranjan mentioned this quickly. Lobbying is very important. Having one voice of the industry was extremely important. And UFI, as the Global Association of the Exhibition Industry, has put all its efforts to have one voice for the exhibition industry and joined forces, of course, with other associations like AIPC, like ICA for the convention centers, like CISO and other national associations to come up with one voice to shed light on the importance of the exhibition industry, because at the end of the day, we do not work alone. We are an ecosystem. We are a large ecosystem, and many other businesses are connected to the exhibition industry, from travel to hospitality to the suppliers to the industry. And the industry represents some 3.2 million jobs around the world. So when UFI has put together the economic impact of canceling exhibitions in Europe, we started with Europe. That was a pivotal moment when governments started to move and work on a framework. Actually, the associations basically worked on a framework, but at least the government adapted this or adopted this framework to come up with their official guidelines to reopen businesses. And this is what we saw in Germany, Poland, and other European countries, and what we saw very recently in Dubai. Dubai announced the reopening of exhibitions from 15 September for the local ones, and from 1st October for the international ones. And I was really privileged to attend the first live physical event in Dubai on July 16 that was held by and in Dubai World Trade Center. It was about artificial intelligence. I really saw, when I attended this event, I want to say that I think that you know, what we call virtual events or hybrid events or whatever can work for our good. We shouldn't be, you know, somehow scared of integrating technology in our events. This, you know, can be a new business model that could generate, you know, revenues and better profits, better profit margins maybe in the future. So hybrid events or integrating all these guidelines were really easy to do, easy to apply, and people, you know, from what I saw in Dubai, people were very, you know, dealing with it at ease, and people were still networking, were still talking to each other, but respecting those guidelines from, you know, wearing the protection equipment and physical distancing. So my main message here is about adaptability and resilience. We are a resilient industry and we will remain as such. We can always upskill ourselves, upskill our employees, and take this industry to the next phase. We will remain an economic engine for any nation, because at the end of the day, the economic impact is really a very high one on any economy that has a strong infrastructure for the exhibitions and events industry.
You made some very significant points, and I must compliment that adaptability would be the key. And with this, I'd like to go back to Mr. Bhupinder Singh. And Mr. Singh, a lot of people have been skeptical of whether or not virtual is their friend or foe. What are your comments in this regard? Are we adapting to the new norms? And is virtual going to stay with us in the future? Or maybe it's just for the pandemic that we are adopting to the virtual model?
No, I agree with what Naji mentioned, Raghav. I think firstly, I believe that on-site exhibition space is slightly disrupted, but they are there to stay, right? Understandably, due to lack of any on-site action in last few months, we have seen a surge in plug and play online exhibition service providers, and many organizers have opted for it, right? Because of various reasons, whether to stay connected with their members or their exhibitors, to generate some additional revenue, to keep their teams creatively occupied, could be various reasons, right? And I think the most important thing in this piece of bargain is that we should remember that even exhibitors and visitors have certain objectives. Now, they are much more forgiving if they do not meet those objectives because due to the lack of alternatives. But if this transaction of online business just becomes that organizer takes it all and it doesn't pay attention to the needs of exhibitors and more importantly visitors, their commerce related needs, their needs to connect with new customers, find new business, then I think this can also have a larger or an adverse impact on the brand equity of the physical shows. So I think we have to tread there very carefully. Having said that, I think as long as we can maintain a cautious balance in addressing those objectives, it's fine. With respect to online, I believe a large number of people from our industry have, tasted the freedom of sitting at home and still participating at the trade shows. And I think going forward, we may have to be ready to have a section of exhibitors and visitors who do not want to travel and who do not want to invest money and time for traveling, and at the same time figure out a smart way to integrate them into our on-site business. So, I mean, there is no point adopting a sheepish approach and not acknowledge the problem. I think we have a problem at hand. And once the exhibitions open, as Naji said, exhibition organizers who are open to adapt, who are asking these questions that, okay, how am I going to operate or how am I going to do what I am currently doing in a new scenario, right? I think they will find a solution. And for them, it's a big opportunity, that they integrate online and on-site in a way that they are even able to expand their business circle. I mean, it may take time, but I think that possibility is very strong possibility and which is there. And another big opportunity I feel is, and that's my personal belief, that all the big crises push governments for big reforms. And we have seen that happening in 1990s, when the markets opened up. This crisis is nothing short of that crisis. And I think my feeling is that the government will will put together a think tank which will do never seen before reforms. Most important thing right now is to change the narrative of the business community. And I believe exhibition industry can be an excellent cheerleader for the government of India to change that narrative. So, you asked me a question on virtual, I digressed a bit, but I certainly feel face-to-face exhibitions are there to stay. I feel online has brought in some kind of disruption. I feel exhibition organizers who are smart enough, who are adaptable, who are open to this change and who can do this marriage between on-site and online they stand to gain rather than to lose.
You made some very significant points, Mr. Singh, and I completely echo your point that the MICE industry, the live events, exhibitions and conferences are here to stay, and virtual can only complement them. I'd like to go to Ms. Seema Srivastava, and I'd like to ask her how has she used this time to upskill her employees and whether she is engaging with her members. We understand that you represent one of the leading and largest associations in textile machinery. So you have a lot of members from all over India. Are they looking to come back to exhibitions, or are you planning to engage them in some other way during this time?
That is, Raghav, a very important activity which, as an industry association, we have engaged. We had taken conscious steps. Now, you asked two parts. One, how we prepared our staff, and the second part was how we engaged with our members. So very quickly, I would like to go share with you the focus and the activities which we did with our team to keep them engaged, ensure that their output and productivity has not reduced a bit, despite the fact that we are not meeting every day in the office. One of the things in Mumbai is the travel time, which is a long travel time, and individually each staff was saving almost 3 hours going and coming each day. So we did a lot of training programs for our staff, and especially with the focus on communication skills, technology training, and self-improvement programs, the personality development programs. We were very, very keen that when we join back, every staff feels that they are better than they were 5 or 6 months back when we went into a lockdown, and their skill sets have improved, their certification and qualifications have improved. We did training programs with companies like TCS for technology. So every one of them feels much more worthwhile and envigored, and a change of routine for them. Otherwise we would be busy running after the exhibitions and the routine association work. So this was a great, it's like a work holiday for them, something regenerating program. The engagement with our members. Now, we felt that it is extremely important to connect with our members. Like you said, that we belong to the textile and textile machinery segment, and most of our members are, you know, in faraway cities or specific textile hubs like Madurai, Erode, Salem, Panipat, you know, the faraway cities, not the metro cities. And India ITME event is one of the key events for their businesses. And there was a lot of anxiety that what is happening, how is this affecting, what will we do, their business are affected. So as an industry association, we the foremost thing which we did is that we connected with each one of our members through email. We utilized CRM extensively to connect individually. We shared with them that how the secretariat is planning and what are the plans we have for various activities to support the industry through this difficult times in terms of connecting with customers. We provided on our website various platforms for small companies to, you know, network and things like that on a day-to-day basis. The other very important thing which we did is we took a feedback from different segments of like the small, medium, the companies who are exporting, that the specific challenges what they are facing during this time. And then we designed different solutions for them which we can execute virtually, you know, like organizing B2B meetings, buyer-seller meetings, organizing technology training for their staff. So these are the few things which we did for our members, which was very, very well received. And they felt that even though we postponed our event, which was to be held this year, December to next year, so even if they missed that live event, we ensured that we engaged them in various activities which will support their industry. Now coming December, this is the first week of December, now we are organizing a buyer-seller meet, which is completely complimentary to all the exhibitors who are registered for our live event. This effort is just to ensure that this year they do connect with their existing customers as well as potential new opportunities, and when the lockdown ends they start with lot of customer leads, you know, so that there is a hope, there is an excitement, and they want to, rather than feeling that oh now it is a big uphill walk to start all over with such a gap. So these are things which we have worked on the last 5 months, both for our members and for our staff.
Those are very, very good points you mentioned, Ms. Srivastava. And I think you are handholding the industry, because even the industry, the fraternity needs the organizers to handhold them at this point in time, because they are also suffering. So this step which you are doing to give them complimentary access to your virtual event will definitely be much appreciated by them and help them revive their businesses. Well, thank you. And we now have Mr. Sanjay Datta with us. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Sanjay. And you represent SCOL Asia, and you are the voice of travel and tourism industry. And we all know the travel and tourism industry is bleeding at the moment. I would like to understand your comments, your take on this situation, and how are you planning to come back in the future? What are your comments on this?
Thanks, Raghav. First of all, sorry for joining in late, because inevitably I missed out on the link you had sent. But thank you for inviting me and asking me this question. I think this COVID-19 situation has been a great learning experience for everyone, as a matter of fact. But to give you the good news, which is good for everybody, especially you from the industry, we had our AGM last Friday, which was the 28th, and we are doing our first event, which is the SCOL Asia Congress, And the place which has been selected is Srinagar. And we expect at least about 350 to 400 people coming in there. So that's a good beginning as far as call is concerned, and myself, as a matter of fact, because I personally feel Kashmir was something which was lacking in some kind of incentive given to them since the abolition of Article 370, which was, in my opinion, August 2019. Till date, they have not witnessed tourism at all. And it was a good step by all the clubs in Asia to give them an overwhelming majority to put them there. But keeping that aside, that's for future, which is scheduled in April 8 to 11. And I would like you to invite all of you to be there and support us in this cause. We are looking at support from government and Kashmir. Right now, Srinagar is a union territory, so if and when it becomes a state, we sort of request the state government there also. But what we have learned is to meet people virtually. And I think virtual conferences, virtual events, virtual, you name it. I see my dear friend Bejan also here from the Abu Dhabi Tourism. So we in future, which is the immediate future, I would say, we will be meeting virtually rather than physically, and that is the way forward, and that is where we have to look. So if we are looking at virtual things, then obviously IT comes into place, and as Seema was also mentioning, she had got her people trained by TCS. I think training people like TCS, Infosys, HCL, all these people have to come out with certain alternatives where people can improve on their skills, improve on their knowledge, improve on how to basically excel taking these IT-enabled devices into this thing. We are connected on Zoom, though it's virtual, but we can all say hello to each other. There is no issue on that. So going forward, I feel IT has a major role to play. I, on my personal front, where I run an event company also, have already developed solution for hosting events, which have been done by many, but we have tied up our AV guy who used to be with us in all our events. We have roped him in. He is going to give us a back end, and we have our own solution for our clients. It's not that clients are not coming back. We've already done about 3 conferences very recently, and there are more in the pipeline. As a matter of fact, I got a very interesting idea from my daughter who does weddings, about virtual weddings, because now right now the restriction is there for 50 to 100 people, though from 50 it was 50, now it has been increased to 100. But you want to call anybody and everybody, and people who cannot travel can virtually attend it. Not that it was not being done earlier, it was being done. We had done certain events which were Facebook Live and other things, but now it can be live on many other platforms which are available. Zoom, we all know what it was pre-COVID and what it is post-COVID. It's a remarkable turnaround for them as well. So my take on this is that we have to embrace virtual conferences. We have to acknowledge that virtual is there to stay. Obviously, those in travel business, which is one of my fortes also, will get affected by this largely. But I think life has to go on, and we have to accept that now we'll only be meeting virtually, if not less, in my opinion, at least for the next 18 to 20 months. So that's my take on it, Raghav. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay ji, for those important updates. And you mentioned about how our industry is going virtual, and I'd like to move to Mr. Ranjan Lahiri, being from the policymaker front. Mr. Lahiri, you have worked with the MICE industry. You understand the relevance of our industry. My question to you is, why the government is not giving us clearance to reopen? Why countries like Germany, where or maybe some other parts of the Europe, they have got a clearance. They understand that MICE exhibitions, conferences is separate from journal mass gatherings. And we also saw in India, Bhumi Pujan was done for the Ayodhya Mandir. But still, where we also have our SOPs in place, the government is not allowing us to reopen. Can you give us your comments? How can we get a clearance to reopen going forward? What we need to do? Because we are a very important pillar to revive the economy.
Thank you, Raghav. I agree with you. When I joined 35 years ago, it was called the Department of Tourism. We used to have a division called Convention Division, Conference and Convention Division, and used to look after the MICE. That time, MICE exactly was not formulated, but still, these things were looked after, and there was a lot of promotion on this way. Somehow, when it became a ministry, it became lost. The division was taken off. I'm just giving you the historicity and the changes in the mindset. Today, the mindset is unfortunately, or in a way, is more of providing central, financial assistance to the state governments for what they call it tourism infrastructure, where most of the budgetary provision is made. The promotion and marketing of MICE is very important, because which I did when I was in New York, and I also tried to make it a very important factor. There was a lady called Mrs. Suman Basu. She used to look after the MICE promotion for Indonesia, and it was a very learning experience how to do it. And this is what I did for when I met Mr. Robert Whitley, who was the chairman of the United States Tour Operators Association. And he had, I was even able to convince him, and he brought along with him about 7 to 8 tour operators who were the billionaires, at that time. And they had their out of board meeting. We need to actually reach out for, to people outside to have this uh, industry, which is the most important, and which gives you the biggest revenue in terms of foreign exchange, in terms of other things. And there's a lot more interaction in a MICE atmosphere than anything else. I am looking at the virtual thing, which is very pragmatic at the moment, when you are not, where there's so much of restrictions. But I'm looking at 2021, maybe June, July, August, when things will open up. I'm taking a little further, but maybe it will open up much earlier. And I'm sure that MICE industry will thrive. The government needs to, what the government needs to do is to, what I said was to, you'll all have to form a consortium and go into a very, form a one voice to tell the government that, look, the entire industry is suffering, including the MICE industry. And therefore, there is need to be you have to tell them that these are the reforms that we need to do. These are the things that you were doing, and this is the thing that we would like you to continue to do.
I'd like to go to Mr. Bejan Dinshaw. And Mr. Dinshaw, please tell us what a destination can do going forward to make sure that it is prepared for any eventuality like COVID in the future.
Well, Raghav, the thing is that all these learnings which we have had, all these learnings and putting into place protocols and all that would not be, really conducive unless and until we pass the benefit to the industry. Like in our, in the last couple of months, DCT has, in the India office, has spent a lot of time educating the trade. We have so far trained over 3,200 people on virtual platforms, be it Teams, be it Zoom. In fact, in another half an hour, I'll be going on to a new endeavor we've done, where we bring in our stakeholders and we have a virtual training session with the industry. Today, it is the Louvre Abu Dhabi who will be doing it with us. So what I'm trying to say is that the learnings are there. The infrastructure has been put into place. The new protocols on safety have come up. I think now it is just a question of time to see when things open up. It's basically that. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you for your comments. And Naji, you have been following the updates from the industry from various parts of the world, and of course the MEA region. I'd like to understand from you whether you have attended some good virtual events. What have been the good learnings you have picked up? Because a lot of people feel that virtual events is just about maybe live interaction, or maybe clicking to the website. They're confused. What is a virtual event? Can you give us some examples where you have witnessed good virtual events which have been also profitable and of use to the participants?
Thank you, Raga, for the question. So let me say that we as exhibition organizers, we are not carpet rollers, in a sense that we have a much, more important role. That is connecting people, creating markets, empowering markets, and connecting people. So for us, it doesn't matter how we do it. What it matters is that to connect buyers and sellers and creating and empowering markets wherever we are. So the Middle East, mainly the Middle East market, is a consumer market, so is a buying market. So we are always, governments and big companies are always on the search for new technologies to come from abroad in all sectors. I will not give my opinion first. I will give the opinion of over 10 or 13,000 of people. I don't have the exact number of a research that TUFI has done in partnership with Explori, the international research company. And the big majority of people, when we're asked about, what do they prefer, virtual exhibitions or virtual networking or face-to-face networking, over 70% said that they prefer face-to-face. So this is the opinion of our stakeholders. Yeah, so I'm not talking here from an organizer point of view or an association representing the exhibition organizer point of view. Otherwise, I would have told you immediately, no, it doesn't work virtual. We have to go back to face-to-face. So let's ask the stakeholders. And as we mentioned before, this is what matters. We need to gain back the confidence of our stakeholders, which are the exhibitors and visitors, who are the suppliers and buyers that we connect and bring together for an exhibition, and then take their opinion in that. So it is clear that there is a need for a face-to-face, networking. However, virtual part can, as I said, can be integrated. And integration is different from replacement. So I'm not talking about, replacing. I think what is needed is an integration of virtual meetings to have, the people who cannot travel for some reason, for restrictions, for budget issues, for health issues, maybe, I don't know, whatever, they have that chance, to get connected. Now we have to differentiate between what a conference, offers and what an exhibition offers. You asked me about attending virtual events. I have attended many, and I have received many demonstrations from companies. The events or the conferences, let me say, or the seminars that depend mainly on content, on delivering content, yes, virtual can be a natural replacement. But when it came to exhibitions, no. The answer is no. I've seen a virtual exhibition, and I've seen the mistake some suppliers did, because what they did is they just, imitated the terms of an exhibition, in a sense that they tell you online, build your stand. There was that term, build. See, Bhupinder is smiling. They told me, build your stand. Yeah, I clicked on a build my stand. There was nothing. Just a window appeared, and I was there. And they asked me if I want to put my logo as a background. So the virtual background that Zoom or any other platform can offer you. So it wasn't the real experience. Then again, network, connect with others. It wasn't the real experience. It wasn't the experience we wanted. It might evolve. I'm not saying it is dead. No. And again, I totally agree that the virtual world is here to remain, but maybe not to replace, or I'm sure not to replace, especially exhibitions, because again, a virtual exhibition cannot offer what a real life exhibition offers. Now, what will happen is that people will be more selective than before, the buyers to come to an exhibition and the exhibitors also to choose an exhibition to go and build their stand and be there physically. They will be more selective. They will tend, according to the same research that we did also with Explory, the people tend to exhibit or visit an exhibition that they knew before is more likely than going, physically for the first time to a new exhibition, to a new launch. So there is here a big role on the exhibition organizers, to position their existing events as the place basically for the real life face-to-face networking, building on all the successes of previous editions, building on all the data that they had before. Virtual is not only about sitting in front of the camera and talking and okay, we've done a virtual exhibition. There is the artificial intelligence there is the big data, there is the Internet of Things that the exhibition organizers can benefit from it, and like large and multinational companies are already benefiting from such and using such technologies, because it's really important to understand the behavior and the preferences of the visitors and exhibitors to use them in the right way. So to answer your question very briefly, I have attended many events. Those that deliver content are okay to be virtual, yes. Now we are delivering content, we are delivering information, so it is fine, it is good. But when it comes to an exhibition, I didn't see the solution there yet, no.
I'll move to Ms. Seema Srivastava. Ms. Srivastava, please tell me 2 points that you feel are important to build confidence back in our industry in terms of bringing the visitors and the participants back. 2 things which you are doing.
First and foremost, I believe that sharing the information on all the facility arrangements which an organizer is making to ensure safety, health safety of all the participants, and giving that confidence for them to visit the event in person. I think that is the key thing for all exhibition organizers, to ensure that the exhibitors and visitors are open to participating in the live events. Very important. The second point which we are focusing on is various strategies whereby we can ensure that the business concerns of our exhibiting companies are addressed in a focused manner, whereby we, as I shared previously also, that we are specifically taking feedback from each and every exhibitor as to what their expectation in terms of business meetings are. And that is something which we are working. It is not easy to deal with individual issues, but for an example, there are small companies which have faced financial hardships, and so we are addressing that specifically by bringing financial institutions, banks, and various terms of loans to these companies so that they are able to resume their business. So these specificities which we are focusing on.
Thank you. And I'd like to go to Mr. Ranjan Lahiri in this quick fire round. And the question to you is two things that our industry needs to do to win the government's attention.
Well, first of all, I would like to endorse what Naji said and what Bhupinder said, that there is no substitute to eye-to-eye communication, which is very important in MICE. And I've always thought that digital marketing is not the answer to MICE or any segment of the tourism industry. The second thing which I have been again referring to is to that we should have some sort of an insurance policy that we should formulate with the government, so that such pandemic situations, when it arises, will protect the industry from any kind of harm, and also that the workforce will not be retrenched because of the fact that there are so many small companies which can't bear the cost. The other thing that we need to do is to have one voice. There are too many voices in the travel industry which does not actually speak in the same manner, so that there should be one single voice speaking to the government that this is what we need to do, these are our objectives. We want to make India one of the topmost MICE destination, because India has everything to offer. And Raghav, you have worked so hard on the SOP of the COVID protocol for the MICE industry, and it is ready. And I would like to, since I have a lot of contacts, I would like to send them. If you can give it to me, that is my bit that I will do.
Sure.
For the MICE
my question to you, sir, my question to you is, when you say travel and tourism industry, does MICE fall in that? Do you consider MICE a part of travel?
MICE is part of our travel and tourism industry. It cannot be a different one. We always had that. As I told you that we had a convention division, conference and convention division from the late 70s. So we always recognized that. And we had PATA conventions coming up. The first PATA convention that we had was in 1978. I was not there though.
So exhibitions are also a part of your entire.
Absolutely, MICE is there. MICE, I'm talking about the entire in a holistic way.
Very
so
good.
Everything is important.
Thank you for enlightening us, sir. And I'm sure our attendees are getting a lot of wisdom and food for thought. I'd like to go to Mr. Bejon Dinshaw. And my final question to you is, my quick fire question is that two things that are important to reinstill confidence in our participants. Mr. Dinshaw, please unmute yourself.
Sorry. I think the main concern in the next couple of months, maybe, up to about a year, is going to be the health and safety protocols. Because anybody coming to any particular facility or any particular exhibition or, conference, the first concern is going to be, am I going to be safe? So this is the first thing which has to be addressed. Secondly, the main other thing would be how to make it convenient for the person to come. You can do all you can, but if the government is not allowing, people from some particular regions of the world to come because it is more dangerous, it serves no purpose. So the main thing is, the second point is going to be, is how convenient are you going to make it for the person to come to you?
Very well said. Thank you. And I'd like to go to Naji. And Naji, you have to tell me two areas for working on skills. What skills we require for the future in our manpower?
Well, basically, definitely, being knowledgeable about technology is very important. And now there are many online courses that that people can take, and they are free of charge or with a very, very minimal cost. So really, I encourage everyone to take those courses. Be aware of any technology that could help our industry. Whether thinking that the COVID-19 or this crisis will continue or it will disappear, and we don't know what the future will bring us. So I strongly encourage learning more about technologies and testing them. This is the right time to test. This is when people do not judge anyone about any possible glitch or something like this. So then there is one of the very earliest online sessions I did with UFI was about empathy. So we need not to forget that we should have empathy towards other colleagues, other partners in the industry, people who are under big stress working from home or maybe lost their work. So we have to maintain this solidarity all together all the way, and not forget while we are going back to business again, not to forget those who were most impacted by the crisis.
Thank you, Naji. And finally, I'd go to Mr. Bhupinder Singh. And I'd like to understand from him his 2 points. Why does he feel our industry can stay ahead of players like Facebook, LinkedIn, Alibaba, who very well launch their own virtual events anytime soon?
I won't be overconfident saying that, Raghav. I would be very watchful, and I think as an industry, we cannot afford to be lackadaisical towards these threats. 2-3 years ago, we all talked about Alibaba being a concern, and majority of us couldn't believe that Alibaba will jump into exhibitions, and they have jumped into exhibitions. And no matter how many ratings we give to their first attempt of online expo, we cannot rule out that they might look at this space, and they do the improvisation and come back. I think my first point would be that it's a time that we realize that opening up of exhibition markets in India is a concern right now. But a bigger concern is to think about that once the market is open, how are we going to address the challenges of our exhibitors? Now we know MSMEs and SMEs constitute 70 to 80, or in some cases even more percentage of most exhibitions. And they are cash deprived right now. They have certain challenges, right? They have huge liquidity problems, supply chain problems. So as an exhibition industry, how can we effectively address those concerns? And then once we have the answer to that, we go back into the market with this narrative and amplify that narrative. I think for me, that's one solution, which would take time. So I don't believe that once the markets are open, we will have huge lines outside the exhibition halls. And I would celebrate if I'm wrong, but I think it will take some time before the industry stands up. Exhibition industry will need to be very patient with that change. And lastly, it's time to live our values. If our value is connecting business, I think we have to live that value and not be venue or location or physicality constrained in our thinking. If our joy comes from connecting people, whether we are connecting them online or on-site, we have to be open for it, provided we do justice to what we are doing. So I think that's my 2 bit to it.
Very well said, Mr. Singh. And with this, I would like to thank all our esteemed speakers who have spared their valuable time and to enlighten our attendees from all around the world. And I'm sure that the attendees have gained a lot through this very interactive, very enlightening session. Thank you so much.